A very good afternoon to all of you. Expert is going to join within a minute. Kindly bear with us. Chiranjeevi sir. Chiranjeevi sir.
हेलो। हाँ डॉक्टर विजय विजय प्रताप सिंह, इज इट ऑडिबल? हेलो।
Hello.
हाँ डॉक्टर विजय प्रताप सिंह, इज इट ऑडिबल? आई एम डॉक्टर प्रकाश कुमार राय।
सर, हाँ जी सर,
इज इट
वॉइस आ
ऑडिबल?
रही है?
हाँ आ रहा है, आ
यस
रहा
सर, यस
है।
सर।
ओके ओके,
ओके
आई एम
ओके।
कनेक्टिंग इट
सो
टू प्रेजेंटेशन।
ओके, लेट मी साइट योर
लेट मी
biography.
ओके, लेट मी गिव जस्ट 1 minute to connect it to my PPT.
हाँ, sure sir, sure.
ओके ओके। Dr. Singh, actually, I'm resending the link you have provided because I have to connect my laptop also to show my PPT. Okay.
Okay. So where actually I have to send, sir? I have already sent on your email ID.
Okay. I am sending from my maybe. Let me copy and send it in my email. Actually, I have connected through my mobile phone, but I want to
Okay, sir.
connect
Okay.
my laptop to show my PPT.
Yes,
Okay,
sure, sure.
I'm sending. Okay. Okay, now it's coming. So just I am connecting. Can you see the PPT?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, shall we start, sir?
Yeah, okay.
So once again, I welcome all the participants in the 8th session of this online faculty development program, and I welcome the Professor Prakash Kumar Rai, currently the working as an associate professor in the Department of College of Engineering and Technology, Bhubaneswar. Prior to joining this college, CET Bhubaneswar, he served as assistant professor in Triple IT Bhubaneswar. Dr. Ra have published more than the 100 papers in the reputed international journals and the conferences. He having serving a number of projects till now. He have guided two PhD supervision. So one, I request you to kindly start your presentation.
Okay, thank you. Am I audible to you? It's clear or you are getting any disturbance?
Yes, sir, it is
Hello.
voice is clear, sir. Voice is clear, sir.
Okay, very good. Okay. So thank you, Dr. Vijay Pratap Singh and REC Sonbhadra for inviting me for a lecture on your FDP. So I will actually give a overview of challenges in future smart grid, and I will tell little bit what research we are doing in our research group. So basically, I will discuss the what are the future. Basically, I will discuss what are the challenges and what are the problems related to the renewable energy based power system, or maybe microgrid or smart grid. Slowly, will be moving towards smart grid, and I will cite some of the problems and issues related to the renewable energy based power system, and I'll show what research we are doing on some particular problems. So this is the content of my presentation. Introduction. Then I will discuss little bit about the distributed generation or renewable energy sources. Then what are the impacts of the renewable energy sources or DG on power system? We can discuss. Then microgrid, a little bit we'll be discussing smart grid or issues and challenges. So basically we'll be discussing and focusing on monitoring of power quality and islanding issues, mitigation of power quality disturbances, then what are the protection issues in renewable energy based power system or microgrid. Other issues are like power management, stability, optimal power flow, power system resiliency is another important issue in current day, future power system. And we'll be also discussing little bit about the electric vehicles. So as we know, the common some definition of distributed generation in general, okay, rather than discussing a renewable energy based power system. So we say the distributed power generation is any small scale power generation technology that provides electric power at site closer to the customer than the central power station generation. A distributed power unit can be connected directly. Okay, the usually we define them. They are small scale power generation that are actually generated and directly may be connected to the load, or it may be connected to the grid, the conventional grid. So that's why it can be run in two different modes. So islanded or isolated mode of operation. Sometimes it is called standalone mode of operation. And other mode is it can be the distributed generation, the renewable energy power generation can also be connected to the conventional grid for power management or power supply objective. So there are different definition of distributed generation. Okay, so usually these are small scale generation. You can see the second definition. Distributed generation is not centrally planned, usually connected to the distribution part of the network. That is important. As you all know, the power system, conventional power system is divided into three basic parts: generation, transmission, and distribution. Usually, the renewable energy system or distributed generation usually is connected to the distribution network of the power system, if it is connected to the grid. And usually it is very small, maybe less or equal to 10 megawatt, which is very small as comparison to the conventional power plant. You know, it will be in terms of maybe thousands of megawatts. So under that distributed generation, you know, it can be renewable, it can be non-renewable. Under renewables, these are very basic thing. You know, solar. So under solar, we have solar thermal, then solar photovoltaic. We have wind energy, ocean thermal, biomass, geothermal, small hydro. You can have wave and tidal energy also. And under non-renewables, that will be also treated as distributed generation. Okay, small scale power generation. We can take fuel cells. We are generating power from fuel cell by chemical reaction between hydrogen and oxygen. So that is giving us some free electron that will be flowing in electrical path to produce some power. Similarly, diesel engine generator, gas turbines, other option for non-renewable based distributed generations. So very important is that, okay, when we classify this distributed generation, so basically they are classified based on, the type of, structure or topology that we are actually using. So basically they are divided into two DC based, DC or AC based power generation. So some are using actually rotating machine, like you will be telling your wind energy system, that is you are using either synchronous machine or industrial machine. Similarly, wave energy, it is also using some rotating machine based machine for generation of power. And some like your fuel cell, PV, battery, they are all actually called inverter based DG. So based on that, actually we are dividing the distributed generation into two basic categories. One is rotating machine based, either synchronous or induction machine, or maybe some other rotating machine based DG. And the second one is we call it inverter based or converter based, because suppose I am talking about the solar PV panel or solar PV basically. So usually the output is DC. So definitely we use DC to DC converter, and then we are using DC to AC converter in order to connect it to AC load. So these converters are used to connect it to DC or AC load for interfacing with load or for interfacing with the conventional grid. So this classification of why it is very important, because they are playing a very important role in the operation and control of the power system. Because as you know, the rotating machine based DG like wind, wave energy, and others will have a inertia, and inertia plays a very important role in playing in maintaining the stability in power system. Similarly, if you are taking this converter based DG, definitely we don't have any inertia rotating. There is not no rotating mass, and that is indirectly affecting the stability of the system. So that's why sometimes we consider the virtual inertia, so that will be meeting the requirement for maintaining stability and reliability in power system. So the ratio of this rotating machine based DG or this converter based DG is very important in power system, because you know lot of solar PV is being connected to power system, and definitely they are without any rotating mass. So they will put lot of this stability and other issues in power system that should be maintained for supplying power into the load. So this while designing the power system, it is very important that how much percentage of rotating machine and how much percentage of this converter based DG is being connected to the power system, and that will definitely have an impact on the operation and control in power system. So need of okay, we will be slowly moving towards the microgrid or hybrid system. So basically, as you know, the renewable energy based power system will be depending upon the nature. Okay, like wind energy system will be depending upon wind speed, and the solar system will be depending upon the solar radiation. Definitely, they will be depending upon the climatic condition or environmental condition, and these are some of the reason why we are actually going for integrating these resources, okay, or maybe hybridizing some of the resources. Like I have shown some of the hybrid system. We can integrate hybrid wind with diesel, PV battery, wind battery, your wind battery, wind PV battery, wind diesel. Okay, any combination. I mean, it can be any combination by integrating some of the renewable energy resources along with some of the storage devices. Hello, is it audible?
Yes, sir. Audible, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Audible, sir.
Hello, Singh sir. Is it audible?
Yes, sir. Audible, sir. Clearly audible.
Hello.
It's audible, sir.
So is it audible? I think I will continue.
Yes, sir. You can
I don't
continue,
know
sir.
whether it is connecting properly or not.
Okay, audible, sir.
Okay, very good. So we are actually moving towards microgrid. That is nothing but hybrid combination of some of the renewable energy resources with some of the energy storage options. Like we have battery energy storage system, we have flywheel energy storage system, we have supercapacitors or ultra capacitors, we have compressed air energy storage, we have hydrogen storage. So lot of storage options are also there to integrate with some of the renewable or non renewable energy system. So that will be maybe improving the reliability of power supply into the load or into the grid. To define, microgrid, it is nothing but a group of interconnected loads and distributed energy resources within clearly defined electrical boundaries that act as a single controllable entity with respect to the grid. A microgrid can connect and disconnect from the grid to enable it to operate in both grid connected as well as isolated mode of operation. Okay, so we understand actually this is a combination of some of the resources or distributed generation system along with some of the your battery, some of the energy storage options that is being integrated to supply to have uninterruptible power supply into the load. And some of the features are these are small independent power system. Okay, increased reliability with distributed generation, increased efficiency with reduced transmission loss. Okay, as I have already pointed out, the renewable energy or maybe distributed generation system are usually connected uh, to the distribution end or distribution network of the power system. So definitely we are not overloading the transmission line. So the transmission losses and other related issues will definitely be reduced. And we have a lot of problem also. Okay, by integration of these type of resources, renewable or maybe distributed generation sources. So there are a lot of issues. I'll cite maybe later on. I'll show some slide. I'll be citing all the problems related to the grid integration or maybe in isolated operation. So some of the problems I have cited here. So the stability issues, islanding, load frequency control, voltage control, your power management problem, protection problem. So lot of issues are also there related to microgrids. I have already defined distributed generators, energy storage device with some of the critical and non-critical loads that are the part of your microgrid. So do some diagrams to show some diagram of microgrid. Okay, basically I have taken some of the microgrid. There are a lot of configurations. There are a lot of structure for this microgrid. It can be DC microgrid, it can be AC microgrid, it can be a combination of AC DC microgrid. So it can be in any form, in any application. It may be community, it may be a corporate building, it may be a academic campus, it may be a military base, it may be a building. Okay, it can be anything. So rather, I should show some figure that may be interesting for you. So you can see this small microgrid. This is consisting of a solar PV panel. There is DC to AC converter that is connecting with the AC bus. Okay, you can have also battery energy storage system. So again, it is connected to the AC bus through DC to AC converter. You can have your different appliances you are using in the home. Okay, that may be requiring DC or AC power. So again, you can have another important type of device. So which is coming in a large way in near future. So that is you must have heard about your electric vehicle. Here it is written PHEV, that is plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. So lot of electric vehicles are coming into market. So they will be charging from your home microgrid or maybe your grid. So that will have an impact on some of the electrical parameters. So definitely, whenever we are designing some microgrid, we are designing renewable energy based power system, we are designing smart grid. So definitely, this hybrid electric vehicle will play a very important role because that will be charging from your grid and that will be affecting some of the electrical parameters like your frequency and voltage. And as you see the figure, so the home microgrid can be connected to the conventional grid through point of common coupling (PCC). Okay, so there will be a power electronic based switch. So that will be matching the electrical parameters of our microgrid, home microgrid, with that of the conventional grid, like your frequency, voltage, and phase sequence, so that I can interface with the home microgrid will be interfaced with the conventional grid. So that is the other option. Okay, it can run, the home microgrid can run in isolated mode if it is not connected to the grid. Okay, the PCC is off or the switch is off, and if the switch is on, definitely it is a grid connected system. Similarly, if we talk about a corporate building, okay, or a campus, we have different type of loads, different type of loads, different type of resources. Okay, like we have wind energy here, we have PV energy, we have electric vehicles. Okay, we have battery energy storage system, and we have different appliances that is being utilized in the corporate building. And the whole system can be treated as a microgrid. Okay, and that can be connected to the grid if the PCC is closed or the switch is closed, and it can be run in isolated mode if the switch is off. Similarly, you can see again community microgrid. A number of microgrid can be integrated together to form. I mean, the capacity may be increased. Okay, you can see the upper part there is a switch, the lower part there is a switch. So if I am closing both the switch, both the microgrid will be connected. So this is a interconnected microgrid, and the whole interconnected microgrid can be also connected to the grid through the point of common coupling, or maybe through some power electronic switch. Okay, as I was telling you, so the microgrid can be DC in nature, it can be AC in nature. So depending upon that, we are classifying actually as DC microgrid or AC microgrid. So if you mark the configuration in DC microgrid, you know, if I am using a W-fed induction generator based wind turbine, so definitely the output is AC in nature. So I should use AC to DC converter in order to connect it to the DC bus. Okay, and we have also solar PV panels that is connecting to the DC bus. Okay, the common bus through DC to DC converter. Again, there is fuel cell system that is also connecting to the DC bus, common bus, through DC to DC converter. And you have DC load. Okay, in the right hand side it can be DC load, and if you want to connect it to the AC load, or you want to connect it to grid which is AC in nature, definitely the common bus should be connected through DC to AC converter. Okay, so that output will be AC in nature. So to show you here, there are a lot of issues related to this DC microgrid. As you know, the W-fed induction generator, the stator is connected directly to the grid, and also the rotor is connected through back-to-back converters, AC to DC and DC to AC converter, and it is again connected to the grid. So both stator and rotor are connected to the grid through some converters. So definitely there are a lot of converter design are there in order to interface the wind energy system into the grid. Similarly, if you see the solar PV panel, so I am using, okay, the output is DC in nature, but still I am using a DC to DC converter, either maybe boost converter, sometimes it is a buck converter, and sometimes it is buck boost converter. So again, I have to design a efficient DC to DC converter because the DC output I am getting from my solar system is highly uncertain in nature, uncertain or variable in nature, because the solar PV system is depending upon the solar radiation, and solar radiation is changing based on the climatic condition. Okay, so that's why the total output, the voltage or the power I am getting from my PV system is highly uncertain or highly variable in nature. So by using a DC to DC converter, maybe a buck boost converter, so I can stabilize the output voltage to a constant voltage, so that I can also sometimes charge. Okay, always you know your solar PV system is associated with a battery, because solar power is not always available. So whenever surplus power is there, I can store it in the battery, and battery will be actually supplying power to the load. Okay, so battery charging is only possible when the output voltage is constant. So that's why the challenge is here to design a efficient DC to DC converter where I'll be getting a constant output voltage so that I can charge my battery efficiently. Similarly, you have fuel cell system. Definitely, there may be some variation due to the chemical reaction in fuel cell. We are mixing hydrogen and oxygen. There is some chemical reaction, and that is producing some sort of electron, or maybe you are getting current, voltage, and power. But definitely, that output may be varying. So that's why we can use a DC to DC converter to stabilize the output voltage so that I will be getting a constant DC voltage to connect it to DC load, or I will be using a DC to AC converter for connecting it to AC load or AC grid. Similarly, in the left hand side, definitely AC microgrid, we can combine just by interfacing different converters. I can formulate a AC bus. Okay, you can see in the upper part. There is a DFIG double fed induction generator type wind turbine. Okay, that is again using AC to AC converter, and here solar PV system is connected through DC to DC, then DC to AC. So the challenge, what my topic is to cite some of the challenges related to this microgrid. So here the challenge is how to design a efficient DC to DC converter, how to design a DC to AC converter, so that I will be designing, so that I will be stabilizing some of the electrical parameters like frequency, voltage, phase angle, rotor angle. So that will be playing a very important role in the stability of the microgrid. Similarly, fuel cell, DC to DC and DC to AC converter. So all you need to design the interfacing converters. That is also a very is a big challenge for all the researchers and electrical engineers to formulate the DC microgrid or AC microgrid. Again, it can be a combination of AC DC microgrid. Okay, you can formulate the DC bus and AC bus. I have already told, I have shown you, and they can be interconnected through your DC to AC converter. Okay, your DC side will be converted to AC side, interface with the AC side through DC to AC converter, and the whole AC DC microgrid combination can be connected to the main grid, utility grid, through a transfer power electronic switch, that we may consider as the point of common coupling. And you can see a lot of if you see the figure, we have wind turbine, we have solar PV system, we have electric vehicle, we have storage systems. So we have other type of loads connected to critical and non-critical loads, linear and non-linear loads that are also being connected to the DC AC DC microgrid, and definitely they will be playing a very important role. Okay, so the combination, the formulation, the structure, the topology itself will actually pose different challenges to keep the stability and reliability issues in the microgrid. So as I have told you, okay, if the switch is off, definitely the microgrid is a islanded or isolated mode of operation. It is not connected to grid, but it is operating isolatedly. Okay, and the whole combination is supplying power into different type of loads in isolated mode of operation. The other mode is if the switch is on, so definitely the whole microgrid is connected to the grid, and the mode of operation is maybe a little bit different. Okay, both grid will be supplying power as well as the local loads, wind, PV, and other resources which are in the microgrid that are also contributing to the load requirement. Again, yes, a little bit I will discuss about the electric vehicle that I have shown you in some microgrid. So this electric vehicle is coming in a big way. Okay, as you know, a lot of scooters and cars are coming into the market. So they will be definitely charging from your microgrid or maybe your grid. So that will have a impact on the parameters like frequency, voltage, and some other parameters which will be affecting, maybe affecting the stability in the power system. So there are advantages of these electric vehicles, and there are also impact and issues related to this electric vehicle. We may a little bit discuss. So a lot of options. You can see the charging station I have shown here. Okay, so definitely, to use this electric vehicle, like a country like India, we have to develop the infrastructure, just like we are on the highway. So there are petrol and diesel stations. I mean, take the fuels. Okay, anywhere. So like that, the infrastructure for charging the electric vehicles should be developed. Okay, otherwise it will have an impact on the running of the cars or maybe scooters. So this will be playing a very important role because the infrastructure and the related issues, the battery related issues for these electric vehicles are also coming in a big way. That will be posing a lot of challenges to the researcher or engineers. So there are different applications of this electric vehicle, and they are classified basically into three different categories: hybrid electric vehicles, then plug-in electric vehicle, that is PHEV, and in general electric vehicle or all electric vehicle EV. So hybrid electric vehicle, the definition is a hybrid electric vehicle uses a combination of petrol engine, electric motors, and batteries to power the vehicle. So there are different options. I mean both. I mean it can be charged from electric. I mean from the grid or microgrid, and it can also use your normal fuel like petrol, diesel to run the car or scooter. So similarly, we have a plug-in electric vehicle. Is a hybrid electric vehicle whose battery can be recharged by plugging it to an external source. Sorry, the last one is only through your fuels. This one is through external source of electric power as well as by onboard engine. So both way. Plug-in electric hybrid electric vehicle, we can charge from electric. I mean from the grid. We can also be run by the fuel. And this electric vehicle, pure electric vehicle, that can only be charged through your grid or microgrid. So the only option is you have to charge the battery, and battery will be okay. Your battery will be running the car. So the problem here is definitely whenever you are depending upon battery and you are on actually you are traveling. So somewhere the battery may be discharging. Okay, so there may be some option on the way for again recharge the battery, or there may be some replacement option so that if one battery is being exhausted, so I can use another battery immediately to again run another maybe 100 kilometers or 50 kilometers. So these are all challenges I am talking about related to the future power system. We talk about microgrid, we talk about your smart grid. Okay, definitely a lot of electric vehicle will be coming into the network, and they will be charging from your grid, and it will have a lot of impact also on the operational issues, operation and control of the power system. So there are a lot of issues related to electric vehicle. There are a lot of market technical issues. I have already cited infrastructure. Infrastructure should be there, and policy. There should be good policy from the government to maybe accommodate or to encourage this type of electric vehicle in the market. So I am not going into the details. So there are, just if you see the technical, you can see the driving range of electric vehicle is a challenge. The charging time, charging of the battery is a challenge. Okay, safety issues, environmental impacts, and then efficiency of the battery. So all are your infrastructure development of the infrastructure. All are technical issues, and definitely we have other issues related to market policies and infrastructures. And some of the options, very interesting option for this electric vehicle. Okay, so different form. We have a lot of paper if you search in Google. So there are vehicle to grid. Okay, the vehicle is connected to grid. The vehicle to load. Okay, directly you can connect some of the load through your electric vehicle. That means your electric vehicle will be supplying power to some of the loads, maybe some of the home appliances if required. So that option is there also. Vehicle to home. Okay, your vehicle may be connected to your home microgrid. And vehicle to vehicle. Suppose you are running on the highway, somehow the battery is exhausted. So then you can charge from another vehicle. Okay, that is fully charged. So that is also possible, vehicle to vehicle. So there are different options for charging the battery. Based on that, it is classified. So then a lot of actually policies and opportunities are going on in Indian market. Okay, I think we can skip little bit. So in India also, we are actually the government is taking lot of action. They are changing the policies to accommodate or to encourage the electric vehicle, more and more electric vehicle. Okay, because electric vehicle will be charging from battery, will be charging from your grid or microgrid. So definitely they will have a less pollution into the atmosphere. So definitely the pollution problem can be minimized, and also lot of fuel like petrol and diesel can be saved. So a lot of policies are already going on in Indian context. Okay, to improve the technical issues and policy issues related to the electric vehicles. I'll show you some figures that will be better, I think. Yes, you can see this one. Some there is already initiative. You can see somewhere in Bangalore, I think. Bangalore already they have used this auto and these buses. They are all electric vehicle based, or they are charging from maybe the grid or microgrid. So slowly, actually, we have a plan. We have a plan. Maybe by 231, okay, to 2030. So there will be a lot of vehicles. Okay, that will be charged from electric network will be coming into the market. So you have a plan. Okay, lot of plan missions. So they are. So government is actually formulating these bodies. So that will be taking care of developing or maybe accommodating the electric vehicles. So we have two-wheeler, three-wheelers, four-wheelers, buses. Okay, so all are in the plan in the form of electric vehicles. So I'm skipping some of the slides because okay, I'll cover other part of the I mean related to microgrid or smart grid. So there are a lot of opportunity as far as Indian market is concerned. I think there is we have lot of lot of opportunity to use this type of e-rickshaw, okay, cars, your scooters, buses. So that will be maybe decreasing the pollution, okay, pollution issues and other related issues. You can know already Mahindra has already manufactured some car that will be charged from your microgrid or grid. Buses, scooter, and okay, that is slowly coming into the markets. Delhi, you can see New Delhi Municipal Corporation, your Mumbai Metropolitan Regional Authority, your Bangalore Municipal Corporation, all have started using this electric vehicle in their system. Yes, another issue just I want to cite you. Okay, another important issue that is coming in a big way in microgrid or smart grid, because as you know, microgrid, the higher version is smart grid. When we are designing smart grid, definitely we are taking into account the Internet of Things. we are taking into account the communication technology, we are taking into account the artificial intelligence, we are taking into account the advanced metering. So lot of components are being added into the microgrid to formulate your smart grid structure, and that will be improving definitely the efficiency of the system. Okay, but in other way, I want to cite some of the challenges, because it is depending upon the communication technology. It is depending upon a lot of IoTs in artificial intelligence. Okay, so whenever we are designing microgrid, somebody sitting at home, sitting at the computer, may inject some disturbance into your power system. So that will be affecting some of the electrical parameters, and your system will be unstable, leading to some of the blackouts or outage in the system. So one of the disturbance is your cyber attack and resiliency. Okay, so resiliency, we can define in like that. There will be cyber attack. Okay, but your system should not be unstable. So cyber resilience refer to an entity's ability to continuously deliver the intended outcome despite adverse cyber attack or events. Even if there is a cyber attack, okay, your parameters will not be unstable. Your system will not be unstable, so that some of the lines, maybe transmission and distribution line, will be out from the system, or there will be complete blackout in some of the areas. Okay, so your power system should be resilient enough for interacting the cyber attacks or events or disturbance. So we should design our smart grid in such a way, so whenever some cyber attack will come, so our system will not be unstable. Rather, it will run with a more efficient way by designing some sort of efficient controllers being incorporated into the power system. So a lot of attack. Okay, I have just cited some of the cyber attacks. You can see 94 Salt River project and electricity and water provides. In Pune, there is some hacking problem. Okay, that created problem in power system. Then in Russia, okay, in Indian context also we have a lot of cyber attack that have also affected and the power system, leading to blackout of powers. You can see when we consider smart grid, okay, definitely we are talking a lot of interconnections, your renewables, non-renewables, your communication system, Internet of Things, your SCADA, your artificial intelligence. So a lot of thing is being integrated into the power system, making it so complex. Okay, and there is possibility that somebody sitting at home in the computer will inject some disturbance into the power system, leading to blackout or instability in the system. So that should be actually taken care while designing such type of smart grid in future. Okay, so there are a lot of classification related to the cyber attack. I will not go into the details. Okay, so definitely the optimization, coordination, restoration, the vulnerability measure, the operational awareness, security and protection, all are issues related to this hacking and cyber attack in power system. So a resilient system, if I say a power system is resilient, then it should withstand to any sudden extreme weather or human attack. It can prevent future occurrences based on past practices. It will respond quickly to restore the operation after any such event like cyber attack. It can adapt, okay, to such situation, to unexpected and new situations, while maintaining smooth functionality. Okay, our main objective is to supply the power we are supplying, that should be uninterruptible power supply. Okay, there should not be any interruption to the load. That is the main objective, and that will be efficient. That will be very reliable if we are designing a resilient system. Even if there is cyber attack, we'll be able to withstand under such type of disturbances. So there are a lot of while designing your resilient system, okay, we have to go through different classification or different phases of the design. So pre-disturbance, you can see the x-axis, pre-disturbance, then there is some disturbance, suddenly you see the quadrilateral, okay, some area in yellow and maybe light blue, okay. So suddenly some of the parameters actually suddenly losing stability, like frequency and voltage, okay. So if I talk about voltage, suddenly suppose your voltage is decreasing, so definitely this will be affecting the operation in the power system, okay. So we have to design the disturbance phase, again emergency phase. Then once okay, the fault is cleared or the cyber attack is detected, the system should be restored. That is an important aspect of resiliency in power system. And post restoration, so these are the stages or phases we should be considering while designing a resilient power system to make the stability and reliability with better stability and reliability. Okay, so a lot of issues there related to the design of your resilient system. So these are some of the features, okay, that are taken into account while designing a resilient power system. So if you go, okay, so usually it is component wise, we have to design component wise, protocol wise, okay, and topology wise. So in component wise, field components like RTU, okay, attack. These are the many. Somebody may do some hacking or inject some disturbance into the power system, leading to some sort of disturbance in the some of the electrical parameters that will lead to instability or power blackout in the system. So there are different, stages of classifying the cyber attack, and based on that, we have to design such a control system so that that will be controlling the electrical parameters we are interested in. So you can see there are different structure of the components. Okay, I have shown the three classifications. So they will be affecting some part of your network and leading that will lead to some disturbance. Cyber attack, okay, it may be component wise, leading to the data they will be injecting that will be actually disturbing some of the real data in power system, and that will also affecting the control and protection issues in power system. Then protocol, he can attack some protocol, okay, like your communication system will be disturbed. So that will be okay. You are measuring frequency, voltage, phase angle for some control aspect. So definitely, when they will be attacking, your protocol will be affected. That will be affecting your measurement. That will be affecting your control design. So again, it will be topology wise. Okay. So a lot of topology is there. Based on that, the cyber attack may come. And while designing a efficient or resilient power system, the topology of the network, topology of the power system should also be taken into account. Security these requirements. There are a lot of security requirement for the resilient power system. Okay, so this is all related to the design of your resilient power system while going to while going through the cyber attacks. So I have gone through some of these problems. Okay, I have already cited. These are some of the aspects of the cyber attacks and its effect on power system. Okay, and how to design a efficient power system, how to design a efficient control system. So that will be maybe improving the performance of the power system, even if it is subjected to such type of attacks like security management. Okay, identifying the vulnerability, which area is actually vulnerable to such type of attack. Okay, strengthening, identifying different attack scenarios, identifying attack and detection, So if I say here, so like we do detection classification of disturbances in power system. It may be fault disturbances, it may be power quality disturbances, but it is very difficult to identify. It is very difficult to actually identify the cyber attack in power system. Okay, in comparison to your power quality disturbances or maybe fault disturbances, some special attention, some special design should be adopted. So that will be maybe classifying your cyber attack from power quality or the faults in power system. So the identification or detection of cyber attack itself is very complex. Okay, and once we know, okay, it is cyber attack, then suitable control strategies should be adopted to improve stability and reliability in the power system. So the when we go to smart grid, definitely a lot of complexity is there. Okay, I've already told the components. Okay, a lot of complex components are there. So that is making the power system so much complex. And definitely some part of the power system is vulnerable or subjected to the disturbances like cyber attacks. So these are all some of the structure related to designing of control strategy, like your AGC is here automatic generation control, maybe to control the frequency of the power system. Okay, there are also requirements for once. So these are all required. Okay, all this design is required for designing such a efficient control system. So that will be improving the resiliency of the power system. So these are all the features related to resiliency. Let us skip smart grid concept. I have already told you. Okay, this micro grid we have discussed. So definitely we are adding advanced metering. We are adding Internet of Things. We are adding also the other components. So that is also improving the smartness of the power system. So definitely this will okay, smart grid will improve the enhance this customer service, improve operational efficiency, enhance demand response, okay, or load control. Okay, that is another important aspect in smart grid concept. We are going for this demand side management. You know that okay, the conventional power system, the power is being supplied to the load through generation, transmission and distribution. But load is not taking part in power management or in better management of the electric power. Okay, but in case of smart grid, there is a demand side response. There is demand side management. So the load, the consumer itself taking part for improving the power management strategy in the electric network. So transform customer energy using that is customer is taking part in the control aspect or operation aspect of the power system, and definitely these all features are improving the reliability of the power supply, or the the it is improving the control aspects very efficiently or intelligently. To show the difference between smart grid and conventional grid, I have given this figure. Okay, if you mark the upper figure, so that is the conventional grid. Conventional grid where we have generation left hand side, then we have transmission line, then we have distribution system to distribute the power into different loads. So if you see the power flow is flowing from generation side to your load side, it is unidirectional, but the information is flowing from the load side to the generation side. Okay, so both information and power flow are unidirectional here. But as far as the smart grid is concerned, if you see the figure, so the power flow as well as the information flow will be bidirectional. Okay, it should be from left hand side to right hand side, or right hand side to left hand side. I mean, I'm talking about the generation to load, load to the generation side. So why the actually power flow is from both sides in case of smart grid? Because As you know, the distributed generation system or your renewable energy power generation is being integrated to the distribution end of the power system. So if I connect some solar system or wind energy system in the right hand side, in the load side, okay, load side or distribution side of the network, so definitely there is chance that power will be flowing into the network to from right hand side to the left hand side to formulate bidirectional power flow, and also the information is flowing in both direction from generation side to load side, as well as in the load side or distribution side there are some resources like your renewable energy resources, okay, like wind or solar, so that are also injecting power from right hand side to into the network. So this bidirectional power flow will have a lot of impact on the control aspects in power system. Like one issue I'll just be citing, the protection issues in microgrid or smart grid. Okay, so whenever we are designing the relay and operation of relay and circuit breaker, so our relay is operating based on the current, voltage, frequency, or phase angle. Okay, and the operation is something different when the power is flowing from one side, that is from generation side to load side. But when the power is flowing from both sides, from generation side to the distribution side, again distribution n to the transmission side, okay, so definitely the relay at maybe somewhere near the distribution end will be facing both the currents from left hand side to left hand side as well as right hand side. Okay, so this bidirectional flow of current or power into the relay and circuit breaker will have a lot of the leading to some of the unwanted operation in relay and circuit breaker. So related to other issues, okay, like maybe control of electrical parameters. Okay, I'll show you some slide related to the problems or challenges. So this is how your smart grid looks like, very complex. Okay, lot of infrastructure is there, lot of communication system, lot of renewable energy system. Okay, different type of loads, critical, non-critical loads, lot of control strategy. Okay, other your Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, SCADA. So lot of thing or lot of protocols are making the smart grid very complex in nature. So these are all we have already discussed. I think I should move to yes. I want to show you some challenges related to microgrid or smart grid. Okay, so definitely the integration of distributed generation system or your renewable energy generation, renewable power generation is doing some of the advantages, like they can act as emergency backup, improving the system performance in terms of uninterruptible power supply, increase the reliability and flexibility, reduce the loading of transmission lines. Okay, our transmission line is not overloaded, rather we are integrating the resources into the distribution network. Okay, so definitely it is green power, the pollution is minimum. Okay, but there are a lot of issues related to the microgrid and smart grid. Like major challenges are the stability issues. Okay, like frequency stability, instability. It may be frequency stability, it may be voltage stability or rotor angle stability. Okay, it is greatly affected by the integration of renewable energy resources. Power quality disturbances. Okay, islanding disturbances, detection and classification, your microgrid protection, your transition from grid connected mode to okay the renewable energy system, your microgrid or smart grid may be operating in isolated mode or grid connected mode. So both transition from grid connected mode to isolated mode as well as isolated mode to grid connected mode is also playing a very important role. Okay, we should know when we are moving from grid connected mode to isolated mode and when we are moving from isolated mode to grid connected mode. Again, frequency, these are the conventional control strategy. Okay, frequency control or regulation load sharing or power management, you can say. Then optimal power flow. Then you can have optimal placement. Okay, suppose you are placing the DG, distributed generation system or renewable energy resources. So where to place in the network? So optimal placement of the DG is another problem issues. Okay. Then voltage regulation, design of interfacing converters. I have already cited DC to DC converter and DC to AC converter. Okay, optimal sizing and DG placement. These are all the research problems related to microgrid and smart grid. Wide area monitoring and protection, your power system restoration and reliability, power system resiliency, how to design a resilient power system, impact of electric vehicle on grid, impact of IoT in smart grid, demand side management, grid integration issues. Lot of issues are there whenever you are taking your renewable energy based power system to for microgrid or smart grid. These are all research problem. You can search in Google or in some good journals. So lot of papers you will be getting related to the challenges or the problems I have cited here. Okay, anybody can to take any problem and can do his MTech PhD or research to formulate the problem and solve the problem. So some of the slide I have kept what we are actually some research we are doing related to the detection and classification of islanding and power grid disturbances. Okay. So before that, I will just define what is islanding operation here. So islanding operation is a very important aspect in DG based or renewable energy based power system. So the definition says when a DG operating in parallel is disconnected from the utility grid due to some abnormal or emergency condition or fault condition, but still it continuous supply to the local load. Okay, this condition is called islanded operation or islanding operation. I mean, if you see the diagram, okay, to explain what the definition is saying, you can see the diagram. So there are DG1, DG2, DG3. They are interconnected with the conventional grid. Okay, and suppose there is some maybe fault or disturbance in the upper side, say somewhere uh, beyond the point C. Okay, and due to the fault in the grid, the circuit breaker at C is operating. So when the circuit breaker C is operating, you can see DG1 is disconnected from the grid, but it is still supplying power to the local load. Okay, then we can say that okay, DG1 is disconnected from the grid, but it is now operating in isolated mode or it is operating in islanded mode, but still the DG1 is supplying power to the local loads. Okay, this particular condition is called islanding operation. So why we are most concerned about this? Because you know when DG1 is connected to the grid, the operating condition, the frequency, voltage, and your phase angle and other parameters, your rotor angle are something different. But when suddenly it is isolated from the grid, you know the load maybe the local load is less as compared to the grid connected mode. So definitely suddenly the electrical parameters like frequency, voltage at the load point will be changing. So the electrical parameters will be affecting the local loads. Maybe the load will be damaged, otherwise the system will be damaged. Okay, so we should know when the DG is disconnected from the grid. We should properly detect, okay, by using some efficient technique, and that okay, this islanding has occurred, and accordingly the control aspect in the isolated system or island system should be activated. Okay, so that the frequency, voltage, and power requirement to the load will be maintained. Okay, so some of the implications I have shown in the slide, like it is hazardous to utility line worker and public. Okay, somebody is supposed to doing maintenance in the encircled portion. Okay, and he will think that okay, encircled portion of the network, just I have shown the isolated network. Okay, somebody is working, doing some maintenance work. He will think that okay, the grid is isolated, but still DG1 is supplying power. So when he is going for maintenance, definitely he will get some shock. So this type of event is happening in the system while islanding is occurring in the system. So damage to customer equipments if the voltage and frequency provided by the DG is not regulated. The complexity definitely when while reclosing the switch C. Okay, so that is another challenge. Okay, and if you are not controlling properly the parameters, then there will be damage into the load and as well as the system. Some of the power quality events in microgrid or maybe in power system we can say sag, swell, momentary interruption, under over voltage flickering, harmonics, voltage notching, transient disturbances, all are occurring because of the uncertainty in power system, uncertainty in renewable energy generations like solar and wind. Okay, as well as there are also some other events like I have shown you. These are the sources of power quality problems. Okay, there may be power electronic. Usually, the nonlinear load is the main culprit that is actually creating a lot of harmonics in the system. Arcing devices, load switching, energization of transformers or induction machine. Okay, sudden source or lightning, abnormal faults conditions. Okay, and many other operational issues are creating a lot of power quality problems. Okay, that will be affecting the performance of the power system. So we basically classify them into based on the magnitude as well as the duration for which the power quality disturbances are occurring. Okay, they are very common. Classification for power quality events. It may be short duration, it may be long duration, it may be on interruption of any type. Okay, temporary, momentary, long term interruption. It may be voltage distortions like in voltage current. It may be DC offset. So there are a lot of it may be flicker, it may be noise, it may be unbalancing. So a lot of power quality events are occurring in power system because of the integration of renewable energy power generation as well as the operation like nonlinear load or load switching. Okay, this figure is showing sag, swell, interruption. Okay, harmonics, then transients. So there are a lot of effects of these power quality events. Okay, like the process will be interrupted, data loss, then data transmission errors, PLC or computer misoperation, damaged product, motor failure. So all are the possible effects of some of the power quality events. Similar transient. So different power quality events have different impact on the power system. Okay, data corruption, equipment damage, data transmission errors. Okay, a reduced equipment life. Harmonics is another important, type of power quality event. Okay, that is because of some of the power electronic based loads or nonlinear loads. Okay, that will lead to overload of neutral conductors, overloading of power sources, low power factor, reduce ride through capability. So all this will be a power system will be affected in some way because of this power quality disturbances. These are some of the standards. Okay, IC, IEEE standards to maintain some of the even if it is subjected to some type of disturbance, your parameters must be maintained based on the definition of IC or IEEE standards. Okay, that is to be taken care while designing such type of systems. So I'll show you some results. Okay, related to the research we are doing. Can I ask Professor Singh how much time I can take? Or just I want to show some slide related to our research works.
Sir, kindly take 10 to 15 minutes.
Hello,
Sir?
Dr. Singh.
Sir. Hello. Sir, can
So
you
how
hear
much
me?
time I can take or how much time? Yes, I am hearing you.
15 minutes, sir.
Yes,
15
yes.
minutes.
Okay, very good. Okay.
Okay.
So then I'll show you some slides related to our research works. Okay, we are actually doing the detection and classification of some of the power quality as well as island disturbances by using signal processing techniques. So I'll cover some slides maybe within 10 minutes, then we can stop. So actually, we have taken a small microgrid like this. A PV array is there. You can see PV system, solar PV system. There is DC to DC converter and DC to AC converter. Okay, to interface with the DC. AC bus. Then we have fuel cell. We have taken a fuel cell system. And then DC to DC converter and DC to AC converter. And we have also used the doubly fed induction generator based wind turbine system. Okay, where the stator and rotor, okay, are connected through this back-to-back converter. Your rotor is connected through back-to-back converters. So the output is AC. So all AC are here interconnected, and they are also connected to the conventional grid through circuit breakers 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so depending upon the requirement, I can formulate different topology. Okay, I can formulate PV fuel cell system, PV with wind energy system. So different topology can be formulated by switching on or switching off the circuit breakers 1, 2, 3, 4, and it can be connected to the conventional grid by switching on circuit breaker 4. So why actually we have formulated such type of topology? Because by using this circuit breaker operation, we can actually will be formulating the islanding disturbance and the different type of power quality disturbances. Okay, like I'll say you CB4. Okay, CB4 is closed. Then my microgrid is connected to the grid. If suddenly I am switching off circuit breaker 4, so definitely the microgrid is isolated from the grid. Okay, and it is islanding condition or islanding disturbance. I will be getting some islanding disturbance. So to get that, and also to create some of the power cut disturbances due to load switching or variation in the solar radiation or maybe wind speed. So we have actually developed a MATLAB model using a MATLAB Simulink using this type of system. Okay, resources. Okay, so that we can generate some islanding disturbance as well as power grid disturbance. I'll show you. There are some of the ratings related to the system we have considered: wind energy system, PV system, as well as fuel cell, as well as converters. Okay, so then major problem, first problem is once the disturbance, islanding or power quality disturbance is occurring, so how to detect them? Okay, so basically the methods we use is signal processing based method. So first method is Fourier transform. So if you have remembered, okay, as you are all electrical engineers, we have studied about the Fourier transform and Fourier series. So definitely this Fourier transform is used to know the frequency content in the signal. Okay, if I pass a signal, if I pass a sinusoidal signal, okay, through Fourier transform, it will give that, okay, the frequency is 50 hertz. Okay, similarly, whenever there is some power quality disturbance or islanding disturbance, definitely the voltage and current okay profile will be affected, some other frequency like your harmonics. So other than the fundamental component 50 hertz, it is also containing higher order harmonics, 100 hertz, 150 hertz, 200, and higher frequencies. Okay, so how to know what are the frequency content? So if I pass the signal through Fourier transform, it will tell me what are the frequency content in the signal. Like the signal I am showing here, containing 5 hertz, 25 hertz, as well as 50 hertz. So if I pass it through Fourier transform, it is you can see showing a spike near 5 hertz, 25 hertz, and 50 hertz. Okay, so that is the basic. if I pass a signal through Fourier transform, it will tell me what are the frequency content in the signal, and from the frequency content I can know, okay, and that there is some disturbance coming into the system. Yes, so Fourier transform is the basic transform that is used for detecting the aligning and power quality disturbances. But the problem is here, we are getting the frequency and information, but we are not getting any time information. That is the problem. Okay, so but while detecting the power quality disturbance or aligning disturbance, I must know at what instant of time the frequency is changing. Okay, that means I should know the time information as well as the frequency information. So that's why we are going for designing the next higher one, that is short time Fourier transform, STFT. Okay, this is giving both time as well as frequency information for detecting power quality as well as aligning disturbances. But the problem is here, the window we are considering the window we are considering in STFT, that is fixed in size. Okay, that may create some problem for detection, like critical disturbances like your transients or maybe sometimes harmonics flickering. Okay, but it is a efficient technique that will give you both time as well as frequency information at what instant of time the frequency in the system is changing. So if you mark here STFT, okay, if you what I was talking about the window. So window is actually we take a small window, so that is moving from the starting point to end point. Okay, you know there is a spike in the signal. So that window while moving from 0 to the end point will be detecting different frequency content in the signal, and while the frequency is changing, we will know that there is some disturbance in the signal. But the problem here is the width of the window size cannot be changed. Okay, that may create some type of some sort of problem while detecting some sort of critical power quality disturbances. That's why people are using actually this wavelet transform. So where the window size can be adapted, okay, can be changed. The window width will be more for lower frequency, and the window size will be less for higher frequency. That means the window size is inversely proportional to the frequency content in the signal, and it is also giving both time as well as frequency information that is actually required for detection of aligning as well as power quality disturbances. This is the mathematical equation for wavelet transform. Okay, there is some mother wavelet we have to take while designing a wavelet transform for defining the window. Okay, and that window is moving, adaptive window that is moving from one point to other point to know the frequency content as well as the frequency changes. So usually it is actually the wavelet transform is they are setting the frequencies. Okay, so that we'll have a good frequency resolution or good frequency information and good time information at what instant of time the frequency are changing. So if you see the figure, okay, the window size is changing with respect to the frequency content in the signal. If the frequency size is less, the window size is more. Okay, which is more, and if the frequency is more, the window size will be less. So that is the difference between Fourier transform, STFT, and wavelet transform. I have already pointed out. Okay, so among them, wavelet transform is the best. Okay, that is giving both time as well as frequency resolution with a adaptive window that is varying with respect to the frequency. So actually, we have used this wavelet transform for detecting the power quality as well as aligning disturbances. This is the flow chart that is showing. Okay, so we are actually acquiring the voltage signal at point of common coupling. We are passing them through the sequence analyzer that is giving us negative sequence, positive sequence, and zero sequence component. Then we calculate some index like energy or standard deviation. then those index, standard deviation or index, is being compared with a threshold value. Okay, threshold value can be set depending upon the experience. And if you are comparing the threshold value, if it is more than threshold, then it is a aligning event. If it is less than the threshold value, okay, then it may be any type of power quality disturbance. Okay, but we do not know what type of power quality, sag, swell, noise disturbance, your transient or interruption, what type of power quality disturbance is it. But we can classify whether it is islanding or power quality disturbance. Okay, based on this particular strategy. So this is a islanding event. You can see suddenly at near to 350 or 370, the magnitude is increasing because of islanding event. Okay, that is being detected by your Wavelet transform. You can see, okay, by passing it through Wavelet transform, we have used Debuchy 4 wavelet, mother wavelet. So at okay, at around the same point, the wavelet is detecting there is a change in magnitude in the system. That means there is a disturbance like islanding in the system. So we have added some noise. Okay, you can see we have added some white noise, Gaussian noise into it, and we are actually testing whether the wavelet transform is able to detect the event or not, the islanding event or not. And if you see the lower right hand figure, okay, so we are not able to detect the islanding event. Okay, there is no spike at the particular time instant. Okay, so your wavelet transform is failing when noise is added. That is the disadvantage of your wavelet transform. So we have tested again with swell disturbance. So it is detecting nicely, but when we are adding some noise into the signal, so the wavelet transform is failing. Okay, you can see the right hand side, it is just like a noise. So it is not able to find out the instant where the swell is occurring. Similarly, we have tested the noise disturbance. You can see, okay, it is being properly detected. Similarly, swell with the presence of noise. And we have, as I have told you, we are calculating some of the index like energy and standard deviation. Okay, you can see the on a different scenario, or different topology, we are calculating standard deviation and energy, and based on these values, okay, we are actually fixing a threshold value. And if standard deviation and energy is more than a particular value, we say that okay, it is a aligning event. And if it is less than the threshold value, we say it is any type of power quality disturbance. Okay, so again, to know what exactly the power quality disturbance, so actually we have used, I'll show you, we have used your support vector machine and extreme learning machine for classifying the power quality disturbance. Okay, so I'll show you some figure. These are all we have used another transform, that is Stockwell transform, for detecting the islanding and power quality disturbances. So this is some of the experimental work we have done. Okay, we have formulated a win in a system. Win means that is a that is in laboratory we have taken DFIG based win in a system. Okay, to formulate a microgrid and so small maybe PV system or win in a system. So to create some of the islanding and power quality disturbances, and we have tested it in wavelet transform as well as your S transform, Fourier transform as well as STFT. So this is a classifier. Okay, this is we have classified using your support vector machine, least square support vector machine. So after knowing the power quality disturbance is occurred in the system, okay, then the data may be created, and the data will be passed through support vector machine to exactly know what type of power quality disturbance is occurring in the system. Okay. So just I'll skip the slide. Okay, this is the first problem. So we are also doing the stability issues, harmonics in power system. Yes, just one to slide. Okay, so you can see we have used these hybrid filters. We have designed hybrid filters for improving your power quality event like harmonics. So we have created the system in MATLAB, and your control strategy is designed in such a way the harmonics will be reduced in the system. So I'm skipping this because there is already overtime. Okay, so here the THT is decreasing with the technique we are proposing. Okay, by designing a hybrid active filter for suppressing the harmonics in the system. Okay, Dr. Singh, I think can we stop here, or if you have any question, we can discuss.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving such an informative talk on the microgrid and about the smart grid. We have some few questions in our chat box.
Yeah. Okay.
So already some question asked by some participants, and that has been answered by the another participants.
Okay.
But
Okay.
let me one question: how can be the smoothing of renewable energy can be done in a smart grid?
Okay. Definitely, he is talking about smoothing means maybe it is issues related to the matching of the parameters. Okay, it may be like I was telling, the power quality event may be occurring because of the uncertainty in your wind energy system and solar PV system. Okay, definitely we must use. Okay, just for the time restriction, I could not show. There are different methods for smoothing the voltage and current waveforms. Okay, like we can reduce one. I am not telling that. Okay, smoothing means only just suppressing the harmonics. So it is also smoothing the output voltage, current, as well as power requirement. But power quality, one of the issues. Just I was telling that we can design different type of filters, passive, active, and hybrid filters. So that will be maybe smoothing the output waveform, because that is very much required while connecting to the load and while connecting to the grid. So we can adopt, we can design your passive filter, active filter. We can design also FAC devices like support vector machine, your DVR, STATCOM, EPFC. So that will be smoothing your voltage and current waveform that is being required for the load as well as grid.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Can you share the PPT with me so that I can share the participants, because the participants are accepting. They are requesting for this presentation PPT.
Okay, sure. I'll send you to you your email ID. You can
Yes,
share
yes,
it. Okay, I'll
yes,
give you. Okay. Thank you.
yes, sir. Okay. Thank you once again, sir, for such an informative lecture. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Singh, all the Department of Electrical Engineering, as well as REC Sonbhadra for inviting me for this FDP. Okay, thank you all.